We just got done watching Spartacus of the Apes.
My hair's a mess.
Did you like it?
I like parts of it.
Okay.
Honestly, it was a decent action film.
Okay. As if it's not already perfectly clear, we watched a bad movie. We watched Tim Burton's 2001 reboot / reimagining of Planet of the Apes. Not only did it bury the Planet of the Apes franchise in infamy for 10 years, but it also started the long, sad history of what? No.
There was no point to this.
It also started the long, sad history of Tim Burton trying to reimagine things that were great to begin with. I mean, whether it's Planet of the Apes, whether it's Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, whether it's Dark Shadows, whether it's Alice in Wonderland, he keeps ruining these licenses. But, I digress. This movie is basically kind of a remake of the first movie, in that...
If I were to describe it, it would be if Planet of the Apes was a balls to the walls action film.
Well,
with really bad acting.
Here's the thing. Alright. The movie begins with... What? Seriously. The movie begins in the far future. Mark Wahlberg plays an astronaut. I wish I knew his name, but I don't.
Leo.
I refuse to care, so I'm just going to call him Marky Mark. So
His
Marky
name
Mark,
is Leo.
Yeah, you don't remember, do you?
Leo Davidson.
I refuse to care. I'm just going to call him Marky Mark. So Marky Mark plays an astronaut. Yeah, okay. Who chases after his monkey, who is supposed to be trained in
martial arts.
Space travel.
Yeah.
Gets lost in an electromagnetic field in space. So Marky Mark goes after him, and he's supposedly transported
like 300 years in the future, something like that.
Yeah, he's transported to this unknown planet where he comes across a society of apes who hunt down primitive humans for sport. It's the same old stuff, except done badly. Okay.
Well, the atmosphere is a lot better, I think.
I don't think so.
Well, it's just the original had to deal with the camp factor.
Okay.
This one really doesn't. It really just is a dark society.
You say that, and look at all the hammy acting from especially the ape actors. But Marky Mark, he's
okay.
No. He gains the sympathies of this chimp, this human, this
Michael Jackson chimp.
Yeah, this chimpanzee played by Helena Bonham Carter, who is sympathetic to humans, who believes they have a soul. Oh my god.
Well, you have to think in the society that you think.
And he becomes an enemy of General Thade, played by Tim Roth, this evil chimp who leads the ape army, and who absolutely despises humans. He thinks they are vermin.
He always looks like this.
Well, soon Marky Mark leads the fellow humans in a revolution against the apes, blah blah blah.
That's only the last 20 minutes, bro.
Well, no, he escapes. Marky Mark escapes and goes to this place called the Forbidden Area to find out if he can get back home, blah blah blah. It's
pretty much the same thing.
You can basically write this story in your sleep. Okay, so first of all, the acting is not very good at all.
Yeah, it really isn't.
A lot of Mark is just your. Granted, I understand that he didn't really have a whole lot to work with, and this was still in his relatively early days as an actor, but still, he just sucks in this.
He honestly was probably the best human actor.
That's not saying much.
Yeah, but he's still the best human actor in the entire movie.
Okay, well...
He thinks the monkey that couldn't talk was the best actor in the movie.
No, that's not true.
Second.
Well, here's the thing. Marky Mark does not work as a leading man in this. He definitely doesn't have the dramatic capabilities, but also he just doesn't really have that presence. He doesn't really have the leading man persona yet, and I don't know what it was. Maybe it's because all these other actors are better than him, but yeah, he's not very good, and he just plays your bland, generic action hero guy. I mean, there's really nothing to him. There's absolutely nothing to him. When you look at Charlton Heston in the original, and I know that comparisons to the original can be a little repetitive by this point, considering this movie is 13 years old. But I think comparisons to the original are inevitable because the original is fantastic and this sucks. But the thing with Charlton Heston in the original with the character of Taylor, yeah, obviously he was a leading man, but he was also a very flawed character. He was a bit of a prick. He didn't particularly like humanity all that much. Marky Mark, there's not really much of an arc that he goes through in this movie. So
no, there is an arc. It's just too flimsy for you to care.
Yeah.
Because there's an arc because his attitude is different at the beginning than it is at the end. His arc, from what I can tell, is that at the beginning he basically only cared about himself. He only wanted to get off the planet. But the arc happens when he figures out that he can't get off the planet, so he decides to make the best of the situation, and that's his arc.
The other human actors are even worse.
Yeah.
Estella Warren plays the blonde chick. I never knew her name. She's just the blonde chick, so she always has this vacant expression on her face. I guess she's supposed to be the love interest, but
there's a love triangle where one of the love interests is,
and it is completely phoned in.
An ape. So
I mean, it is just completely glanced over on the part of the writers. But she and Marky Mark do not have the slightest hint of chemistry. And for whatever reason, maybe it's just, again, maybe it is the script, maybe it is just the limitations of the actors. But Nova in the original was a much better supporting human woman than Estella Warren in this movie. Nova was just so much more likable. She had much more of a personality.
Which one? The original or this one?
No, the original. By the way, there are cameos in this movie.
Nova makes a cameo.
Yeah, and Nova is my favorite character in this movie, and she's on screen for 5 seconds.
She doesn't have a line.
She didn't have a line in the original either. She had a line in Beneath the Planet of the Apes, but that movie sucked also. Yeah, Nova's my favorite character in this, and she's in there for 5 seconds. So yeah, there are cameos by Linda Harrison as Nova, or some woman who looks like an older version of Nova, and Charlton Heston as General Thade's dad. And they have him say the line, "Damn them all to hell." Yeah, it's pretty shameful. It is so blatant. It is so forced.
I didn't really care.
So just out of nowhere. And how ironic is it, or how fitting is it that Charlton Heston was the one who introduced Thade to the gun. The president of the NRA at the time it must have been in his contract. I, being the NRA president at the time this movie is made, have to have a scene involving a gun. The only thing that would have made it more obvious is if it was a rifle, but anyway, the other humans are not very memorable. Chris Christopherson is barely in it, and he's not memorable. I never knew his name.
The black guy?
No, Chris Christopherson, the blonde chick's dad. Yeah, all these other humans who
he looked like Jeff Bridges, honestly.
But the black guy, I never knew his name. He didn't really have a personality. The kid didn't. I didn't care about.
He looked like the whiny king from Game of Thrones.
Yes, but this is 10 years before Game of Thrones, so.
There was a silent human that wore nice clothes that was stupid. I always thought he was going to betray them.
What?
I don't know.
Are you talking about the bald guy?
Yeah.
Well, see, here's the problem with this movie. The human characters are not memorable in the least.
So there's the bald guy, the black dude, the father, and the blonde chick. That's their designations.
Yeah, and the kid.
And the kid.
And I'm pretty sure I saw an Asian chick in there at one point.
She was one of the other people. She was the counterpart to the blonde guy, to the bald guy. And
that's the problem. These guys are supposed to be, Marky Mark in particular, these guys are supposed to be the audience proxy, the people we see this world through, and we just don't care. I mean, we're supposed to identify with these characters because they are the humans in this very hostile ape world, and we just don't care one inkling about them. I don't. The ape actors fared better, but they're still not very good, and that partially has to do with the writing. Because Helena Bonham Carter doesn't really look like a chimp all that much. She ends up looking like Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
And she's fine for what she's given, but honestly, again, comparing this to the original, she's nowhere near as interesting as Dr. Zero, because Dr. Zero had actually experimented on these humans before. So when she turned out to be sympathetic to the humans' cause, it made that all the more impactful. Helena Bonham Carter doesn't really go through much of an arc in this movie, because she starts off sympathetic to the humans and she ends sympathetic to the humans. There's not really any kind of change that goes on with her. Paul Giamatti Ape was annoying. The orangutan. He was. Oh my god!
He had a couple good lines. But
I hated him in this movie.
He had a couple good lines.
And I don't even hate Paul Giamatti because I feel necessary.
He was really the pedo ape. Let's face it. He was pedo.
Well, he just played your standard two-dimensional sleazy business guy. All
right, you want to spice and aspirin?
I got some in my van. Yeah, I like Paul Giamatti, especially in things like Cinderella Man and Shoot 'Em Up. But when I see him in this, and when I see him in Amazing Spider-Man 2, I'm wondering, why do I like this guy? He plays some really annoying characters. He's not very good. Michael Clark Duncan just looks very uncomfortable in his gorilla makeup.
Was he the main?
He was the big gorilla general.
Okay.
Michael Clark Duncan, he's cast as a gorilla, of course. I mean, he was a big guy.
Him and the Asian,
The Cary-Hiroyuki Tagawa.
yeah, they were the two characters that I actually cared about because they had an interesting backstory.
They actually had a personality.
Yeah.
So Michael Clark Duncan and Cary-Hiroyuki Tagawa are okay in this movie. But two things that make this movie worth watching if you are going to watch it. I don't recommend watching this movie. Not on any kind of legitimate merit, but two aspects of this movie are legitimately great.
Tim Roth.
The makeup and prosthetics.
And Tim Roth.
And Tim Roth is the bad guy. Because Tim Roth, he's right up there with Roddy McDowall in terms of great actors who have played apes in this series. And don't get me wrong, the character, the villain, General Thade, is still not written very well. I mean, he is just that kind of generic bad guy. Or not really generic, but he's hamming it up. He's
a generic ruthless villain.
Yeah, generic ruthless villain. You don't really remember why he's doing what he does. We never really get any sense of why he hates humans, why he's doing what he does. Maybe if they gave him a backstory, he had no backstory. Maybe if they gave him a backstory or a legitimate reason for what he was
his family
doing,
was the descendant of Samos, the Green Sage.
that was implied.
No. Charlton Heston says that at one point.
Okay, but they don't really make that very clear. I mean, the backstory of your villain should be more clear than that.
Yeah, it's summed up in one line. That's the problem.
But really, Tim Roth puts everything into this role. He moves like a chimp. The great makeup and prosthetics on him. He
has one face. That's my problem.
Yeah, but he manages to work through the makeup.
He makes one face.
The makeup forces him to make one face, but again.
No. It's like I said, like low.
Well, if you think about it, a lot of animals don't really make a whole lot of expressions.
But these are supposed to be like human-like apes.
There's only so much you can do when you've got this thing on your face. When you've got this mask on your face.
I heard that they did like months of training to move like apes. Honestly.
And it shows because a lot of the ape movements
are really good.
Do look very good, especially again in the case of Tim Roth giving a very physical performance.
Michael Clark Duncan moves more like a burly human.
Yeah,
but that he's big and he wears armor and he wears heavy makeup, so I can forgive him.
So yeah, those are the three actors who actually come out of this pretty unscathed. Tim Roth, Michael Clark Duncan, and Cary-Hiroyuki Tagawa, Shang Tsung ape, or Shang Tsung gorilla. But again, comparing this to the original, the narrative, I'm going to go ahead and say that this is my least favorite in the series, in the entire series, and I will tell you why. Because even the ones in the original series that weren't very good, at least they still had something to say, whether it be some kind of political message or social commentary or whatever. They still had something to say. This one is just focusing on being a just straight to Sci-Fi Channel action movie.
I'm gonna disagree with you on that. Remember at the end when Tim Roth is trapped in that room?
Yeah.
The fact that he, this is kind of spoilers, but he like hides, like it kind of says that no matter how evolved or how intelligent apes become, that when they're scared and like helpless, that they will retreat, that they will act pathetic.
I think you can say that about any villain. It doesn't really give this movie any kind of underlying message.
No, the underlying message is that humans, number one, are smarter than even intelligent apes.
Okay.
And number two, that apes will act on instinct above knowledge.
You got more out of this movie than I did. I just thought it was just your standard action flick.
It was.
Just kind of your standard mediocre, go here, do this, movie over.
Yeah, pretty much.
And for a series that has with political undertones and all of these messages mixed into the stories, that just rendered me completely disappointed. Especially for something that was supposed to start a new series. But
I wouldn't mind seeing the sequel to this movie.
No, I would.
Well, if it didn't follow that shitty twist ending.
The twist ending makes no sense.
It's basically he goes back in time, but now there are apes instead of humans, like that have the intelligence of humans. It's really stupid.
Fade is Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah.
Which makes no sense. He was a prisoner. How did he? No, I'm not gonna get.
And not only that, but he went back in time.
Yeah. How did they get any kind of transportation off the planet, let alone transportation that was capable of going through time and following Marky Mark's trajectory? Never explained. I guess it was supposed to be explained in the next movie, but they scrapped that real quick. Good thing too. But yeah, another comparison to the original, and you actually picked up on this as we were watching it. Immediately when Marky Mark crashes on the planet, he runs into these apes and these humans going through the usual routine.
Yeah, it's like a minute of build-up. While in the original, there
was like a half hour.
There was a good 20 minutes to 30 minutes of them just walking on the planet.
Yeah, not really knowing what they were going to find. They were in this mysterious place. They didn't really know if anything was still alive.
And they were seeing these like black figures that kept like popping out, or at least we saw them.
Yeah, so just building suspense like that is really.
That's why I thought the original was really scary in the beginning, because of that build-up.
Well, the
you
original,
see these like really creepy black those people.
Well, the shock value of the original still holds up.
This one doesn't.
This one, no. You will probably forget about it as soon as you finish watching it. And another thing, the society makes no sense. Where do the apes get off treating humans like vermin when the humans can talk? Why can the humans talk?
Yeah, that was my biggest problem when I first saw it. Is like I saw the original and I watched this and I was like, why can they talk? The fact that they couldn't talk made sense in the original. That's why the humans couldn't beat the apes, because they had no real form of communication to where they could even rally together. But here, they have every capability of rebelling. They have every capability of making weapons that could defeat the apes. They could, if they took enough time...
They outnumber the apes.
They outnumber. They say this. 4-1 they outnumber the apes.
And it's not one of those things where their
And
spirit is broken. No, they outwardly say that they don't like the apes.
Yeah,
It's their only character trait.
And not only that, but we see, if they outnumber 4-1, I don't care how strong an ape is. 4 people could take down an ape. Let's face it.
You see one person take down one ape in the lackluster battle at the end.
Yeah.
God, this movie. Oh, and it also diminished the creep factor too, because one of the things that makes the original show shocking, even today, is the fact that these humans are so animal in their behavior and their lack of intelligence.
The reason I care about Charlton Heston Taylor was because he was willing to teach someone, which is Nova.
Well, also the fact that humans can talk in this, you are essentially just making these. You're essentially turning this very shocking story into this lackluster tale of these humans being taken prisoner by these. You're essentially turning it into an episode of Star Trek where these humans are taken prisoner by these more powerful beings and they have to escape. There's not really any kind of shock value because these humans you can easily see existing in our world because they can talk and because
the fact that they don't know about the technology, they could be taught.
Yeah, they don't really seem to exhibit much in the way of shock.
Here's another question. Why don't the humans go into the Forbidden Land? They know the apes don't want to go there.
Yeah, and they try and explain this in that the apes put these scarecrows up to indicate where they don't want us to go. Who cares? You just walk past them.
Yeah. I think that was Helena Bonham Carter. Said that. I think that was where the apes didn't want the apes to go. Yeah, but they never explain the human thing. It's just
there are so many holes in this script, and even I'm not just saying that this is a
and hold on, the humans go there anyway.
Yeah.
Why didn't every human go there, and they could just coexist in 2 different societies?
Oh no. I'm not just saying this is a bad movie.
It's insulting.
Now, I'm not just saying this is a bad movie because I love the original so much, or I'm not just comparing this to the original and that's why it sucks. You could compare this to the original and there is no contest. The original wins every single time, except
in the effects,
in the budget, and maybe the production design. But which that's to be expected considering how much later this movie was made and how much money it was made for. But really, even as an action movie, it's sorely lacking because
there's one battle. One battle!
Well, there's one battle. There's a lot of chase scenes that are filmed, in all honesty, too close up. A lot of the chase scenes feel kind of claustrophobic, and the camera never really pulls back enough to...
Well, it's because most of them are taking place in the forest.
And most of them, yeah, which are sets.
Plus, if it was natural forest, you can't really zoom out without getting branches in the way.
Well, like when they're being chased through that camp.
That camp was a terrible scene. I felt myself getting sick.
Well. Also, there are these stretches where characters exposit information to other characters who should know this information. Like when General Thade is talking to Michael Clarke Duncan's character, he's like, "We are not merely soldiers; we are friends. Above all, I depend on you." I said, "Both of you should know this already." So there are many instances like that where the script just kind of implodes on itself and basically. It's a very sloppy script.
It's explained that apes can't swim, or that they're afraid of water. Okay. 2 of them make the journey across the river without any problem. They may have horses, yes, but they're still in water. So, not only that, but Helena Bonham Carter has to be carried by Marky Mark, and through the river. And not only can Marky Mark have enough strength to literally carry himself and an ape through the river just by swimming, but Helena Bonham Carter doesn't even help. She just kind of screams, Really,
my biggest problem with this is that
it's insulting to the original.
Well, it doesn't really have anything substantive to say. I mean, it really is. I'm just
making an action film.
I'm just saying the same thing over and over again. They were just perfectly content to make this sci-fi, this generic sci-fi flick that you could find in the bargain bin instead of something really thought-provoking like the original, and instead of something really shocking like the original. There's not really any risks taken in terms of the content that they show, in terms of what they, in terms of how the society works. The society doesn't really make a whole lot of sense.
It seems that every house is connected.
It's just a thoroughly disappointing flick, and I, for one, am glad that they did not continue with this, because if they had, we might not have gotten the much better reboot years later. So,
well,
do you have any final thoughts?
I would have liked to see a sequel if it was written competently. But other than that, yeah, I pretty much agree with what you said. All the humans are forgettable.
And
the
underdeveloped.
The apes are underdeveloped as well.
Like I said,
there's only like 3 characters that I even remember. There's Tim Roth ape, there's Michael Clark Duncan ape, and the Asian ape. And that's about it. So,
like I said, there are only a few things that I like in this movie: the production design, the makeup and costume design of the apes, which are really good. I mean, the practical effects in this movie are actually really, really good.
They spent all the budget on that, probably.
Well, it was budget well spent. The apes look fantastic.
Yeah.
So
here's a quick question.
And again, Tim Roth's excellent performance.
Okay, so here's my question, just as a perfect question. Are you going to do a Lord of the Rings marathon in leading up to Hobbit Part 3?
I don't know, maybe. But
you should!
Well, one more thing. One more thing.
I have to go.
One more thing. Did the entire society just turn around in favor of human tolerance at the end?
No. Let's face it. That's what would have been the premise for the second movie.
No, because Michael Clark Duncan is like, these graves will be unmarked, so no one can tell ape from human. And I said, you have lived
above these creatures
for years.
Yeah.
For decades. Your entire life has been built around this idea that humans are inferior to apes. At least when they did this in Battle for the Planet of the Apes, A, it was the 5th movie in the series, and B, it was a recurring theme or idea of the movie. It was Caesar's ultimate goal in that movie, so I was a bit more accepting of it then. But
Battle for the Planet of the Apes good.
No, but it's better than this.
Okay. Well, I think that's it for this. Don't watch it. If you are, just focus on Tim Roth. Any other time, go make a sandwich or something.
Yeah.